Good morning, everyone. My name is Ron Eichel. I'm chairing this session called Globalization Processes in the Middle East Countries and Their Effect. Some words about myself. I'm a lecturer with the WGC. I hold a business administration PhD degree from the Hebrew University, specialized in finance and banking, which are among my teaching courses and main interest of research. In this session, we have three speakers. They will talk about economic issues that can show to some extent different, but not so. They have a big one common ground, and that is the ability to identify factors that can influence social progress, economic development, and may also own peace. Our first speaker is Dr. Asher Idan. He's an international lecturer in USA, China, Europe, and Central Asia, expert in innovative networks, Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and decentralized science. Dr. Idan's presentation deals with labor force skills, workspace patterns of networks, and globalization. Good morning, Dr. Asher Idan.
Good morning.
You're welcome to start your presentation.
Good morning and thank you. I will speak about the basic skills for the global economy. And my first slide show the behavior of the Bitcoin price in the years 2015, 2017 from $200 to $20,000. And today it is $50,000 because the Bitcoin concentrate all what we need to know about the basic skill for the global economy. And one of the main basic skill, maybe the meta skill, is decentralization. Decentralization, all the organization of software, of money, of pharma, of university and research are going now in a deep process of decentralization. And we will maybe understand also what is decentralized science, what is decentralized university. Maybe it won't be more university, maybe which will be pluriversity, and Professor Samocha deal a lot with pluralism. And I will begin my second slide. Will introduce myself. I'm in the last 3 years, I'm lecturing all over USA, China, Europe, and Central Asia. In the first left up, you see me with Satoshi, with Nick Szabo, maybe the inventor of the Bitcoin. And in the left downside is in London, and in the right side is in China. My second slide, my next slide, show the main skills that we need and the skills that we don't need anymore. We see that expert thinking is the most important skill for the 21st century. Then complex communication. I will explain later every one of these concepts. Routine manuals. I mean, production line, manufacturing worker, all of these are falling in the global decentralized economy. Routine cognitive is also, we don't need any more routine cognitive, mainly because of the artificial intelligence can replace any kind of routine work. It can be routine manual or routine cognitive. Mainly the last stage of the artificial intelligence that's called machine learning or deep machine learning. Deep machine learning, when they are in robots, they can replace routine manual workers. And when they are algorithms, software that can replace routine cognitive. For example, Google and Facebook replace 60% of all the advertising market in the United States. And the advertisement market in the United States that is done through routine cognitive now is done by the algorithms of Facebook and Google, and they replace. And then we will come to routine manual, for example, driverless car, robotic car of Tesla or others. So all the routine works, it can be manual or intellectual, we don't need them anymore. It means everyone that teach or lecture in routine way is the same, replacing the same thing. We don't need them anymore because deep artificial intelligence or deep machine learning can replace them. So this is the two skills in the lower side of the graph. And we see also non-routine manual. It's manual, but non-routine. This is expert, non-intellectual expert. It can be master chef or can be Olympic gamers. That we will also need them. But the most needed skills in the coming years, as I say before, and I want to explain them, is the up one, the expert thinking, and the other one is complex communication. Expert thinking can be many kinds. They cannot be routine. They cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence, not even artificial intelligence of machine learning. They can be financial analysts, advertisers, software engineer, designer, because the main benefit, the main competitive ability of Apple, for example, we see which is market value of $2.5 trillion, come mainly from design. So design, software, financial analysis, storytelling, all of these are expert thinking that cannot be replaced from artificial intelligence, not from deep machine learning. The other thing under this is complex communication. Complex communication can be a psychotherapist or someone that support internet site, but they need more emotional intelligence, social intelligence. So we have to ask now, if in our universities and in our schools, we can teach the two highest skills. Do we teach at the university expert thinking? No. Do we teach at university complex communication? No. So the important thing is not your profession, a lawyer or a doctor or psychologist. It depends what skills do you have. Your skills are more important than your profession. That's why profession discipline in the 21st century are much less important than skills. And we see the gap is growing between non-routine expert thinking and complex communication and the routine manual and routine cognitive. And I think that still in our schools, in our university, we teach more routine cognitive and sometimes routine manual and less complex communication and expert thinking. That's what we need, and I think because the subject of all this conference is the Middle East, I think that the Middle East and Israel includes in the Middle East, Israel and the Middle East need revolution in education, in university, towards the direction of expert thinking and complex communication. This can lead the Middle East and in Israel up and up. Like, for example, we can compare China and India 30 years ago. China now is the biggest economy in the world, while India is a lot behind. And because China goes into independent way of education according to Confucian methodology that made a lot of education for expert thinking and complex communication, and the Middle East should follow the Chinese way of economic growth. So the next slide, we'll see the difference between two generations, the millennials, my children, and my generation. My generation, you see in the left, the baby boomers. We have much less expectation, but we get reality much more than we dream about. Because our parents, if they come from Poland or Tunisia or Iraq, they had very low expectations. They live, our parents, in the World War II, in an immigration situation, and we live in a very secure environment, very, very rich environment. We fly every year to other countries, to the United States, to Europe. We make a lot of tours. So for the baby boomer all over the world, the reality was better, much better than our expectation. But for our children, it will be the opposite. We educate our children that the reality will be better than the expectation because it was our age, but it won't happen to their age because maybe 60, 50% of their profession will be taken or by outsourcing to Africa and South America or by robots. So they will have the reality will be lower than their expectation. They will have opposite situation, the millennials. Also, we speak a lot about high tech, high technology. We go to many coffee shop and we work everywhere. But for the millennial, most of them, 80% of them will have a bad situation. 20% of them will be very rich, but most of them will be in a bad economic situation. It's opposite of our generation. The next slide will show many research of McKinsey and The Economist about what the new technology of Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency will have effect in many areas like agriculture, art, automotive, public sector, retail, manufacturing. And we can see, I won't go to the details here, but the main thing that will happen with the Bitcoin revolution, that is the top of the network revolution. The Bitcoin is the top of the network revolution. First came Apple, Microsoft, then came Google and Facebook, but Bitcoin is much stronger than Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. And why? Because it is decentralized. The decentralization is the biggest skill, the meta skill of all the skill that you can see in this picture. And that's why I began my presentation with a slide of the Bitcoins that go in 2 years from $200 to $20,000. And we are just in the beginning, because a Bitcoin now is worth like Apple, $2 trillion, and much more than Amazon, than Facebook, and we are just in the beginning. The next slide will show the psychological side of the difference between the baby boomers, our age, and the age of our children. This is my visit with my daughter in the right side, with my daughter in a museum in Israel. And after 10 minutes of the visit in the museum of the school, of her class in the school, I see something very strange. All the baby boomers, the adults, go with the teacher in the museum. But the children left the teacher, sit down on the floor, and began to play with their smartphones. They don't follow the teacher. It's like electrolysis and in chemistry. We see two generations, two nations. The decentralized internet nation in opposite to the centralized book nation, the paper nation and the wireless nation. The paper money nation, the dollar, the euro, the fiat money, and the internet money. No paper, no books, nothing. Something different. We see two nations, two generations. And the next slide, this was in Israel, the next slide, we'll see that it's universal. The former slide, I took the picture in Israel. This slide taken in Amsterdam, in Holland, in the Rembrandt Museum, in a very famous picture in the Rembrandt Museum. And we see again the same phenomena. The internet generation, the Bitcoin generation, they don't look at the picture at all. It's not interesting. They look at their smartphone. They are decentralized. They don't want central authority, central teacher, central school, central money, central museum, central newspaper. They create their own newspaper in the WhatsApp, in Twitter, in Instagram, in the Chinese TikTok. They create their television in YouTube. And we have to think in our schools, elementary school, high school, university, do we understand the generation of our children, the millennials? No, we don't understand. We're still operating our economy, our education. We operate all of them with operation system from the 20th century and sometimes even from the 19th century. We are fundamentals, religious fundamental of the modern religion. We are afraid to go to the postmodern religion, to the decentralized paradigm. And we keep in our hands the old modern culture, modern religion from the 19th century, while our children are moving, running away from it, as we'll see in the next slide, that there are many psychological research about what the smartphone are doing to our cognition, to our emotion, to our brain. We see that the young, the millennials, who are holding their smartphone in everyday life, in learning, in culture, in socializing, dating, the smartphone irrigates two areas in our brain. One is the area of family emotion. We feel like we are in our family. In the other area, we feel like we are in our very close friends. That's why the smartphone is addicting. Yes, it's something that makes addiction. And we have to ask in universities and school, and in training in the work, how we can use the addiction to the smartphone, to the internet, to the TikTok, to the WhatsApp, to put the curriculum inside the smartphone, not to tell our children, close the smartphone, now we begin to learn. No, open the smartphone, and we have to put all our learning, our teaching into the smartphone. Because if the young, the millennials are addicted to the smartphone, so we have to go with them. It's always happened in disruptive technology, from the handwriting to the printing press, from the printing press to the internet. All the time, the old people try to stop the movement from the handwriting, from orality to handwriting, like in the time of Socrates and Plato. And they try to stop the movement from handwriting to printing of Gutenberg, like Martin Luther did in the Reformation, he's a Protestant. And now we are in a transformation age from the 20th century, 19th century to the 21st century. And the next slide, we'll see absolutely that we are not only in the generation gap, we are two nations. There are maybe 8 billion people in the global village, as McLuhan say. The global village is divided between the young internet nation and we, the old, the nation from the 19th century of paper. We see that television and print, the young don't use it anymore. Not print, not newspaper, not books, not television, because it's centralized. But we see websites, apps, social media, TikTok, Facebook. We see that the age 18-29, the millennial, are using 50% of their free time in social media, in decentralized media, and only between 5 and 25% of their free time in centralized media. We see it's not two generations, it's two nations, two states of mind. One is modern from the old 19th century, and the other is postmodern, post-national, post-nation states, the 200 old nation state in the world, redundant 200 nations to one global village that based on the internet. In this infographics show it absolutely that we are in two different nations in the world, the old nation and the new nation. The next slide will show it also how the young trust authority. We see that professional advisors are very strong, the authority for our age, for baby
Dr. Idan, you have 2 more minutes, please.
Okay, thank you. But the young, they don't trust. As the main idea of the Bitcoin is don't trust, verify, be skeptic. Next. And we see the difference. First, we see the psychological, cognitive difference. Now we see sociological, economic, political difference. This is one of the biggest banks of the world, UBS, 20 years ago, and now in the right, they left their working place, they decentralized, they Zoom working. Next slide. And we see how much worse the new enterprises, the Bitcoin enterprise, the internet enterprise, they're worth trillions of dollars, while the industrial economy worth nothing. To be industrialized nation is to be primitive nation in the 21st century. The only economy for the Middle East and Israel is only digital, decentralized internet economy. And the question is if Israel and the Middle East will run on the horse of the decentralized internet economy. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there are some questions from the audience or the Zoom viewers, they are welcome. So with your permission, I have one interesting question. What would you recommend your young daughter to invest or save for her pension fund product linked to Bitcoin or US Treasuries or Apple stocks?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, sure, Bitcoin. First of all, 70% of Bitcoin. I'm not an investment advisor, and I don't understand anything about money because the money is old concept. It's fiat, it's dollar, it's shekel, it's euro. It's worth nothing, it's paper. We are in the dollar area of United States. We are like in the Weimar Republic in Germany in the 1933, that the mark worth nothing. This will happen to the United States in the coming 2 years. The dollar will worth nothing. They are printing paper because of the corona like crazy. It's worth nothing. So for my daughter, not for you, I'm not investment advisor, but for my daughter, 70% in Bitcoin, 20% in Apple, and only 10% in dollar in shekel for to go to buy in the supermarket. That's all. Don't trust, verify.
Can I ask you, is it possible? Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Sure, Professor Samocha, I learned a lot from you, from your books about pluralism.
Our common effort in 1981.
Sure.
I would like to ask your opinion. What's happening and what will happen to capitalism?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, capitalism, I think it was created by Karl Marx in 1848, that he understands that we are in the new era of capitalism, that capital governs the world. And we are in hyper-capitalism in United States in the 20th century. But the Bitcoin is post-capitalism. The Bitcoin, we have to understand, is a so deep revolution that it's post-capitalism. The point is that Bitcoin, no one can print. Government cannot print. Everyone, me and you and my daughter, can create money in this centralized way. So no nation state and no empire can create money anymore. It's never happened. Maybe it was in the gold standard in the 18th, 17th century or in the Roman Empire. That time, empire and state couldn't create money. Capitalism is in the age when nation states began to create money, and they create money in a centralized way. And this is capitalism that Marx began to show it. But the only alternative of capitalism is not communism. Communism is a new kind of capitalism, of Russia capitalism, of the socialism in Israel, of the Istadrut. It's you know, like Gila say in Yugoslavia, the new capitalism is socialism. So socialism is the opposite side of the same coin of capitalism, but Bitcoin is different story because it's decentralized, because you and me and my daughter can create it, we can approve it. So we are not only in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first stage. We are in Bitconia, I call the new global village of McLuhan, Bitcoinia. That is
okay. Thank you for your answer. Thank you very much to Dr. Asher Idan. And with your permission, I would like to go forward to the next presentation, which will be held by. Thank you.
Thank you very much.